What's up guys, welcome back to Deck Tech for Decks, and today we are doing our deck tech on Etali. Now, this card's insane because honestly, the only thing old Etali was missing is 1, green, and 2, it only exiled the top of your library, so it could whiff. You know, if you get a land off the top, you're not casting that for free. Well, this Etali solves all those problems. Now we have access to green, and it'll exile cards from the top of your opponent's libraries until it exiles a non-land card, so you're guaranteed not to whiff. So we went a simple route with this. We're gonna blink our commander to the moon, we're gonna ramp a shit ton, and honestly, we're gonna throw in some of those landfall effects that create at least power 3 creatures. That way we can abuse card draw effects like Elemental Bond. Additionally, whenever we're blinking our commander, we're drawing cards too. So we're drawing a lot of cards, playing a lot of lands, and just getting value off of it. Additionally, we do have a sub-theme that values off of casting things from exile, right? Because we're casting all of our spells from exile whenever we exile them with our commander. So if this sounds like a deck tech you want to get into, let's get into it. I would also like to mention, while it's not the main plan of the deck, our commander does have a nuclear option. Out of nowhere, we can flip this guy for 9 mana, playing 2 life or 10 mana, whichever, and he has trample, indestructible, and you know, whenever he deals combat damage to a player, they're gonna get 11 poison counters, so that's, you know, cool. Again, not our main game plan, but you can better believe I threw in Rogue's Passage and Kessing Wolf Run if we do get enough mana to flip our commander over and just start taking our opponents out. Now that that's out of the way, let's get into abusing our commander's ability. First up, Sword of Hearth and Home. This is gonna ramp us while blinking our commander, getting us that exile effect and netting us 4 cards for free. You gotta love it. Next up, Blade of Selves. Now we're gonna attack with our commander and we'll get 2 token copies if we're playing a 4v4, right? So now out of nowhere, everybody's gonna exile the top 2 cards of their libraries instead of, you know, just 1. So you're gonna get a total of 8 cards off of that every combat. Insane. People will bug me about the legend roll on this one, but both the token copies are going to die, but we will still get the ETBs off of them, so it's going to be solid. Conjurer's Closet, just a way we can guarantee that we're going to get that effect every turn. Again, 4 free cards is not nothing, especially when our deck is just full of ramp and big creatures, so it's going to be amazing. Ortheon, Hero of Lava Brink. This card's going to be literally insane in the deck. On top of just creating a copy of our commander, you know, getting one of those ETBs is still broken, but once we ramp to the moon, we can go ahead and activate his ability for 9 mana to create 5 token copies of our commander. That's going to net us a total of 20 free cards off of everybody's library. I don't know how that doesn't just win you the game. And if that's unsatisfying, if we can copy Terror of the Peaks with this guy, that's 120 damage to everybody's faces. Yes, we do run Terror of the Peaks in the deck. Jaxus and Dino Wild Mage are going to be also super solid for copying our commander's ability, right? We're getting token copies of him, and then when they enter the battlefield, they trigger, right? Additionally, with Dino Wild Mage, it's, you know, up in the air how many copies you can get. If you're rolling lucky, we can get some insane value off of her. Rihanna, Fire Dancer. This card's insane, right? Because the potential to cast a lot of instant and sorcery cards in this deck is also pretty insane. If we blink our commander, we get some free instant or sorceries. We run a lot of we run a lot of instant sorceries because we're ramping to the moon, right? And then we can get a ton of copies of our commander, then netting us more free spells. This deck is going to be absolutely crazy. A little boring, but still worth the include. Strionic Resonator, you know, 4 free cards, you can't pass it up. And then we have Etali Primal Storm, just to include the OG, you know, why not? I'm gonna be straight up with you guys. I just read Etali for the 4th time to make sure I wasn't lying to you. And honestly, like I said, this deck is gonna be insane. Moving on, let's talk about those niche exile synergies while also including the landfall synergies, right? Feldorn, super solid. We're just going to get some free wolves whenever, you know, lands enter the battlefield or whenever, you know, we cast spells from exile. Passionate Archaeologist can straight up just murder someone in this deck. Remember, we're casting a lot of very high costed creatures, and if we're playing against a Kalia or Dragon player, they're going to be in trouble. We're going to call this guy Alf because that's way easier than trying to pronounce whatever the hell that is. So whenever we cast a spell from exile, now we get a copy of it. Additionally, you know, the copy will go away if it's a permanent, but there's still going to be that value there. This will help us with our ETB synergies while also ramping us to the moon because of those ramp cards we included in our deck, right? Keeper of Secrets, another card that can just straight up murder our opponents. Kamal, Heart of Krosa. I like this guy because as a backup plan, we're going to have a ton of lands onto the battlefield. So our commander's dead, they've wiped our board to oblivion, and our commander's up to, I don't know, 14, 15 mana. So now we can play Kamal, animate our lands, and take someone out that way. Green Sleeves, Angry Omnath, and Rampaging Ballast is also going to be super solid because of those power 3 draw spells, right? Like Elemental Bond. We have a total of 3 of those in the deck, so I included any landfall trigger that would create a 4/4 or 3/3 or greater. So now, whenever we're playing those land cards, or whenever a land enters the battlefield, we're going to be drawing cards, and those are going to be extremely synergistic. Marag, this guy's really good with the backside of Etali, right? Because now all we need is 2 lands to enter the battlefield, and we can kill all of our opponents in 1 turn. All we need to do is make our commander unblockable. We can take out 1, and then play 2 lands, and then, take out the other one, and the other one, getting 3 kills in 1 turn. Pretty solid. He also combos extremely well with Kamal, because Kamal triggers at the beginning of each combat. So those +3/+3 triggers can turn into +6/+9 really fast. Lotus Cobra and Tireless Provisioner. There's a lot of ramp spells in this deck that we haven't got to yet, but these are going to be insane mana generators in the deck because of that. Swiftfoot Boots to protect our commander and give it haste, and then we have Invasion of Ikoria. On its front side, super solid battle that's going to tutor up any card or any creature card in our deck, right? And then the backside is an amazing dinosaur that gives Etali unblockable, which is going to be super solid. Well, not unblockable, but almost. You get the point. Alright guys, let's move on to those 17 ramp cards. We have Rampant Growth, Secure Tribuilder, Nature's Lore, 3 Visits, Farseek, and that's going to do it for our turn 2 ramp. That's going to give us 6 options for our turn 2 ramp and get the ball rolling. Cultivate and Kodama's Reach are not only going to get us a land to our hand, but 1 onto the battlefield, so setting us up for future land drops. Explosive Vegetation, Skyshroud's Claim, and Invasion of Zendikar are just going to skip putting that land into our hand and put it onto the battlefield. Super solid. Invasion of Zendikar will also flip over to turn into a Mana Dork that's also a land, so it will trigger our landfall triggers 3 times. At the 5-drop place, we have Traverse the Outlands. This can net us up to 7, even 11 lands with our commander. Next up, we have Nyxbloom Ancient and Old Gnawbone. These are super solid in the deck because once we get our commander onto the battlefield, if we can get 10 mana, we can flip it over and just start taking opponents out. Now, we can also just use this to cast spells. Let's be honest, triple mana has a lot of applications in this deck. Reshape the Earth. This can honestly put us in a position to win the game using some of our landfall effects, right? Marag will go ahead and give us 10 combat steps, while Omnath Locust of Rage is over here creating 10 5/5s. There's a lot of avenues we can take with this card to win the game when our commander just doesn't cut it. Exploration, Oracle of Moldiah, Azusa's Lost But Seeking, just some solid cards that will let us put additional lands into play. We also do run Sword of Forge and Frontier for that. Additionally, Sword of Forge and Frontier is going to be amazing for those exile synergies, right? Now we're using my boy Alf to double up on the spells we cast using Forge and Frontier, and we've just created some 3-card overlap. It overlaps with the exile synergies, its card advantage, and ramp. I love it. Moving on to card advantage, we have Elemental Bonds, Tribute to the World Tree, and Gorik's Pack Leader. Now, whenever we blink our commander, we're going to be drawing cards off of that 7/7 that enters the battlefield. Additionally, like I said, the landfall triggers are also going to make it to whenever we play a land, we're drawing a card if we have, Ballast, Greensleeves, or the Angry Omnath on the battlefield. Guardian Project and the Great Hinge can do the same thing, right? We're drawing cards whenever our commander is entering the battlefield, as long as it's not in token form, which will shut off some of our synergies, but not all of them, right? Savala, Heart of the Wilds, when we blink our commander, if it enters the battlefield and it's the biggest creature, we're going to draw a card. Additionally, we can tap this girl for a ton of mana. Horn of Greed. Now, let's hope with all of those landfall synergies, we're the ones playing the most lands, right? Because this does work for our opponents. But let's be honest, guys, we're casting their entire library. We might as well give them a break with some extra card advantage, right? Rishkar's Expertise, Soul's Majesty, and Return of the Wildspeaker can be super solid cards to draw cards judging on our commander's power, which is 7 or 11. So that's going to refill your hand late game and be super solid. Jessica's Will and Escape to the World Tree can not only ramp you, again, we have more ramp even in the card draw section. This deck produces a ton of mana. They can also synergize really well with, again, our exile synergies, such as Alpha over here, right? Let's get into removal. We have Beast Within and Chaos Warp. This can get rid of any permanents that are causing us issues. Tybalt's Trickery is a counter spell in red, which is going to definitely catch our opponents off guard. Nature's Claim, County Ambush, and Reclamation Sage can go ahead and take out artifacts and enchantments, while County's Ambush can just use our commander to just take a creature out of nowhere. Warstorm Surge and Terror of the Peaks are going to be insane in this deck with our commander entering the battlefield, dealing a ton of damage. Don't forget about that Orthorion combo that can win us the game outright. Copy and Terror of the Peaks 5 times. That combo is actually broken. Bane of Progress, Blasphemous Act, and Azori's Predation are going to be solid board wipes. Notably, Azori's Predation with, a Terror of the Peaks, or even Elemental Bond will draw us a lot of cards, deal a lot of damage, and it can wipe the board. I really love this card, and I'm throwing it in more decks because it's honestly just fun to cast. Lastly, guys, I decided to cut Stronic Resonator literally while recording this video and throw in Panharmonicon. This card's gonna be insane for doubling up on our commander's ability, especially when we create token copies of it and they enter the battlefield. Those are gonna double. Our Elemental Bonds card draw is gonna double, and then our Terror of the Peaks and Warstorm Surge damage is gonna double. It's too perfect not to include. Can't believe I missed it, but hey, I threw it in there. That's gonna do it for the video, guys. I hope you guys enjoyed. As always, I hope this helps you in your deck building endeavors, and as always, I'm not responsible for your friends crying when you do this to them.